Thanks for joining us for the April 7th, 2023 episode of Den Excelsior, the Mostly Marvel podcast. I'm Dennis, and I'll be your host as we recap the latest super news that caught our attention across the multiverse. But as the show title suggests, it'll probably be mostly Marvel. I like to really lean into the mostly part because sometimes we flex. Later in this episode, we'll be putting a spotlight on not one, but two Dungeons and Dragons movies. There's the flex right there. The original from 2000, as well as the vastly superior Honor Among Thieves that released last week. But before that, we'll be getting into some nerd news and, doing a little Q&A with the group of people we got here today. For those of you tuning in, don't be shy. We love hearing from you in the comments. And if you can't get enough of us, you should visit patreon.com/DNXmedia, where you'll find a variety of creative offerings, including recent episodes of our live after show, The Soapbox, or We Have Spoken, our Star Wars podcast, exclusively talking about The Mandalorian, and also our other show, Cracking Snap, a show that I do with my friend Chi, where we talk about Marvel Snap about once a week. But yeah, so lots of stuff there, patreon.com. We won't be doing a soapbox tonight, so, there's tons of other content you can go watch instead, though. All right, with all the formalities out of the way, let's get everyone out here so we can get this show on the road. First up, he's probably the worst rogue I've ever played with. It's Ricky.
Yeah, I think I am, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
I know. That was your first character, right? It was your first character? It was a rogue? It was a Minotaur rogue?
Yeah, the biggest sneaky guy.
It was rough. It was rough, but
you made it out though.
But yeah, you did play that campaign for like a solid.
You got my feet wet into the D&Ds. Now I got a bag full of dice.
Exactly.
I got a little beholder dice transformer.
Nice.
I'm all in. I'm invested.
Awesome. That's great. That's great to hear. And that's honestly we can attribute a lot of that to our other guest that we have here. He's literally the person that willed this special episode of Den Excelsior into existence. He's our favorite dungeon master. Let's bring out Brian.
Yay. Yeah, I have no one to blame for myself except for what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah, I really thought it was interesting that you showed up in the green room and said, I can't believe you guys made me do this. And I'm like, kind of thought you made us do this. But it's okay. It's all right. It's all good fun. And honestly, there is quite a shortage of new Marvel content out right now, or even DC content. So we're like, you know what? This still is it's in the same ballpark. It's heroes doing heroic things sometimes.
Yeah.
And and we definitely, it was a movie that, I'm talking about the new one. It was something that we all wanted to go see in theaters, as opposed to 95% of all other movies that come out in any given year. So, it made sense. Why not talk about it? But before we start talking about that, let's just catch up. It's been a while since we've done this show. As I mentioned earlier, we've been doing We Have Spoken, the Mandalorian podcast. Ricky and I do that with a group of different guests every week. We actually had Brian on a couple weeks ago, and we just talk about that show. And so once every week, it's not a live show, so you can only catch the nicely edited ones whenever I get around to putting them out. But yeah, we just decided maybe take a break from Den Excelsior, not do it as often. So what have you guys been up to, nerding out on, I guess, aside from Star Wars, I suppose?
I can go first if
Yeah,
you want,
go
Ricky.
for it. Go for it.
I started watching The Peripheral on Amazon. I don't know if either of you
Okay.
guys have watched that.
The Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah,
It
and
is.
it's based on a William Gibson novel, so sort of the father of cyberpunk, and he's really good at sort of imagining just a few years into the future technology. So I don't want to spoil it, but it's good. It reminds me of sort of Justified with sci-fi elements.
Are you familiar with Striking Vipers?
I'm not.
Okay.
Oh God, is
Because I was
this?
going to ask, is it Striking Vipers adjacent? But it seems.
Oh man, if you've never seen Striking Vipers, I bet you have though. You just don't know that that's what it's called. It's like an episode of Black Mirror.
Oh, okay. I thought. Yeah.
Okay.
Similar, but kind of a different. Like it's got a lot of that Black Mirror feel to it, but it's layering like 5 or 6 different sort of concepts or technologies and watching them play off of each other. So
Okay, but do they bang?
no,
Oh,
no, there's no sex in it yet. I'm not all the way through, but you
The
know.
HBO show
Dang.
you said?
No, it's Amazon Prime.
Amazon
All
Prime.
right.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, like when Anthony Mackie and Yaya, like they got a kiss for real life to just know whether or not it's the game. That is the most hilarious thing ever. I love that episode so much. It's so good because it just starts out as like this generic Mortal Kombat / Street Fighter, but then they're
No,
like,
those are directions.
hey, should we just do this? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, that's exactly what I would do if I was given the opportunity.
Yes, I know that's what you would do. So
You know that because you're our DM.
We're like 3
Just
years
when-
away from that happening. Yeah, you know that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's do this. Well,
you get your Chat GPT to do it for you.
Well,
Yeah.
how many episodes are you in on Peripheral?
I think I'm at 6 or 7 out of 8. So
Okay,
yeah,
that's
I'm
a
on
good
episode
season.
6.
First season should only be 8 episodes, I feel.
Yeah, I don't know that they've renewed it yet. So
I tried watching Agent Elvis on
oh God,
I've heard really
on
good
Netflix.
things about that.
Really? Because I hear things about it and then I watch it and I'm like, I don't
It
know.
has the blessing of is it Lisa Marie Presley, right? The daughter.
oh
No. Lisa Marie is dead.
Which one's the
It's his.
not dead?
It's his.
it's
It's
like
his ex-wife.
His
Okay.
ex-wife. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Priscilla.
Priscilla, yes.
Yes, Priscilla. It's not great, but it does
Okay.
have its moments.
It has the music, right? I think that's the most
It does
important
have the
part.
music, and it has Matthew McConaughey just being Matthew McConaughey. But yeah, it wants to be Archer, but it's not Archer. That's my problem with it, I think. I think in the realm of superheroes, though, I did start watching the new season of Superman and Lois. I swear to God, that show is so much better than the CW. It does not. The CW does not deserve that show.
Is that show canceled?
I don't know that it's canceled, but I know that the guys who have been running the DC Arrowverse, Flareoverse, whatever you want to call it, all the DC TV shows, they're quite butthurt right now that like the new management at Warner Brothers did not even give them a call to
Well, that show's
strategize.
definitely on borrowed time for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
I know it is. But it's a cool season because basically, I'll spoil it to a small extent. Like Lois finds out she's got breast cancer, and that's a really powerful thing to see Superman realize that there's nothing he can do. And he's actually faced with the thing that he's always kind of faced with, but he chooses to ignore the mortality of the people that he cares for, right? And it's quite powerful. And I was like, this show does not deserve to be on the CW. It doesn't. But then there's all the other like drama with the kids and stuff. They actually replaced one of the actors. He quit. He quit the show last season.
Like, this sucks.
And so they had to get a new son for Superman. But I still fully endorse that show because Tyler Hoechlin and her name's escaping me right now, but the woman who plays Lois, those two,
Mitzi Tulloch.
yes,
Yeah.
I believe that's her. Those two just kill it every time. So good. Highly recommend that.
She was always good on Grimm, so
I do not recommend Gotham Knights. Oh my god, that is a pile. It is a pile. It's a pile. It's bad. Ricky, what have you been nerding out on?
I saw the Super Mario Brother movie on Wednesday.
I mean,
And
it's got super in the name, right?
I liked it a lot.
That movie has a 56 review on Rotten Tomatoes for critic score and a 96 for audience score.
It
That is a
is
huge disconnect.
yeah.
I will like. Is it the masterpiece of storytelling? No, but has any Mario movie or Mario game ever been like a masterpiece in storytelling?
Have you ever seen the original Super Mario Brothers movie?
I have.
All right, just making sure.
But I will say they do a very good job at weaving every single thing that they do to some type of Mario-ism in the past 40 years of Mario. And it's very impressive, like each of the little callbacks that they make and how they adjust them to make them work for this film. The Chris Pratt thing, it's a choice, but they explain it at the very beginning, so where it's not an issue.
I heard they explain his accent.
They got hit on it. He got hit on the head with a pipe and then lost his accent.
Gets hit on the head with a pipe and loses no. But they do explain it.
I would have been okay with that explanation.
Bob Hoskins shows up and steals it.
Oh, it was really fun. Like even Selena came out of it. She's like, I like that a lot more than I wanted to.
You know, I find that when you say that leaving a theater, that's not a ringing endorsement. That's I had a low bar going in.
I think the low bar is the Chris Pratt bar though, and they overcome that hurdle enough.
Yeah. But I think it's also like
that's the low
years
bar.
And years of bad video game adaptation bars too.
Sure.
Right.
I think people are afraid. It is Illumination, right? Not Pixar. Yeah. Illumination, the Minion Company.
What does that mean? Not Pixar. Pixar does great movies.
They do, but Illumination doesn't, right? Illumination.
I would say Illumination plays to the audience.
Movies.
Yes.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see. Yes.
But I think they're pretty respectful of the game, and it does show.
What was the last video game movie we saw? Because I can't remember what it was, but I know it was the best one, and it's escaping me right now.
Uncharted.
No, not Uncharted.
The Last of Us.
There's Last of Us on HBO.
Oh yeah, sorry, The Last of Us.
Yeah.
It's not a movie, but it's better than a movie. Yes, that's the best thing.
Yeah.
But we're on it. We're an upswing.
I think you're still going to get this weird split between critics and audiences for these types of movies because, you know, most of these movies are fan service to some extent, and critics don't like that, but audiences do.
Yeah, I think Marvel is just like broken critics, right? It's just like they don't understand anymore how the audience relates to the stuff that's put out on the screen. Well, and so
it's
critical,
like
I mean, I think the D&D movie touches on this a little bit.
Yeah,
not to jump ahead, because it is something that understands that it's a transmedia property, right? It's not a film property, right? But it also did take the time to make itself accessible to wider audiences. And I'm wondering if maybe the Mario Brothers movie problem is if you don't know anything about the Mario Brothers, how does that movie likely land?
That's fair.
They do a lot of explaining, but to that point, Mario is what I would argue top 10 most recognizable character on the planet.
Sure,
right?
But I mean, you're still a New York Times culture reporter. You don't have time for that.
Yeah, I mean,
I think people are embracing the B movie more so now. We were kind of riding high there for a minute with everything needs to be a critical and box office hit, but I'm happy. A movie doesn't need to be, the greatest story ever told to be good. And
that's your motto, though, Ricky. That's
yeah. But like, if a movie's good, I don't think I don't need a masterpiece in a D&D movie.
But you're
You know what I mean?
also speaking in hyperbole. Like, why is the only option either good or masterpiece? Like, there's a whole
I think if
spectrum
you're
in the
if you're
middle.
It's
a
like bad
producer
good and good bad.
greenlighting a movie, it is a binary thing.
It's not a binary thing. No, it's not. It's a monetary thing. Like, how much are we gonna make? You know what I mean? That's what it comes down to. So it's there's a sliding scale, and that is very evident in the movies that we will be talking about later, because they were both greenlit, and they both, you know,
Made
they
it to
both had
theaters.
projections. So yeah, it's not. Sometimes these movies get made not because they're good, but because it doesn't matter how good they are. You know, like for example, and the funniest thing about it is they kind of broke it. But when I was working at Sony, you know, every now and then, like the VP would sit us down in a room, and he'd just give us an update. You know, as a production team, like what kind of new stuff is in the horizon, like that he can talk about. And when he announced to us, we're gonna make a Ratchet and Clank movie. It was so funny to me because he basically explained it to us as, look, the guys have kind of like figured out, they've done a lot of research and figured out like there's a certain locked in demographic for like a kids movie that just means that like you can spend X amount of money and you're guaranteed to get this much back. So that's why we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, that movie did not do that. And that was really funny. And so you notice they never went and did that with all their other properties right away. So it is a numbers game, and it's not about what's that?
They did reassess though, right? Like you got Uncharted and Last of Us.
Well, I'm saying
yeah, but
God of War
that
thing.
was
they didn't do another
later.
animated movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh
Like, yeah. It's you got to do a lot of research, and you got to do a lot of market research and just understanding how these things are going to play out, and if the timing's wrong and right. You know, I saw the Ratchet and Clank movie because I got to see it for free. It was boring, but there was good actors in it, like so. But yeah, it goes to show there's a magic that has to go into a movie, like really hitting it big.
Yeah,
and it's not
you
always
need the sauce.
It's not always because it's a great movie. It's just something about it.
For adapted properties like this too, there's another element, and this is something that'll come up later when we talk about these two films. You have to remain at least somewhat faithful to the source material in a way. Like if you're hoping to pull in a fandom and a demographic that already is knowledgeable about this thing, you can't alienate them. I think like if you look at the Sonic, remember when the Sonic movie was in production, what happened when they released the first images of Sonic?
They cyberbullied them.
But man,
yeah, but they knew if they didn't do that, the core fan base was going to trash them.
But honestly, that's one of my favorite superhero video game movies. It's an excellent movie because it's accessible. It's accessible to anybody, but it's rewarding to fans of the property.
It's true to Sonic.
You know?
But it's
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, that was our in-depth.
So go watch Mario. Go watch Mario. It's good.
Is Mario as good as Sonic?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Wait. Every time he does this, what are your top 3 Marvel movies again?
Oh God.
No. I'm just saying. Maybe get some outside
2 and 3.
By the way, I think Quantumania is on Disney Plus now, isn't it?
Is it this week or next week?
I think next week,
it's
April.
The 5th, wasn't it?
Oh, it is April, yeah. I don't think it's out yet. I did see a commercial today saying it is available for digital in a few weeks, so I would assume it's soon. But speaking of coming soon, we have a lot of news and a lot of trailers to talk about.
Do it.
Oh man, we had a busy week in the trailer world. Busy 2 weeks. We had a lot of cool shit get revealed for the first time, and
we did.
I'm just gonna throw it up here. Let's start talking about it. We had new Blue Beetle trailer, or the first Blue Beetle trailer, new Indiana Jones trailer today. Secret Invasion trailer, another Spider Verse trailer, and a Ahsoka trailer. I didn't even throw it up here, but the Barbie trailer also came out.
Yeah.
What's give me some hot takes. How are we feeling? What's the most exciting movie on this screen right now?
Okay, can I start with least?
Sure.
Indiana Jones. Didn't even watch that trailer. Don't care.
I will say Indiana Jones, I was in the same boat as you. I did watch the trailer, and then I realized that there's actually going to potentially be time travel in that mofo, so I'm interested now. I want to see what they use to kind of skew the universe that way.
I think my problem with Indiana Jones is just the charm of the old ones was the lack of CG.
Right.
And you know, like I miss Hollywood that leans on the beauty and the magic of practical effects. And when Kingdom of Crystal Skull came out, they were just like, F that, we're going all CG, and it loses something for that. I'm not saying like I don't like CG movies and stuff like that. I'm just saying like it lost the magic for me, the Indiana Jones franchise with that.
It's not a franchise that's improved with computer animation.
I will say some of the de-aging shots in that the new trailer look pretty good. And my logic is if you can convince, I know Harrison Ford's a big money guy, but I still think he's pretty respectful of the work that he does.
Is that why he's going to be the Hulk?
That's why it's going to be the Hulk. But if you can convince him to do a de-aging, and you know, I think it looks good so far. I'm interested. I will always be interested in Indiana Jones.
I don't know if I agree with he's pretty respectful of his work. I've definitely seen him on interview say that he will do as many sequels as they pay him to do.
Yeah.
Buy him a plane.
Yeah, exactly.
Like crashing again.
No. I'm not saying he's disrespectful of his work. I just think he has different priorities than we think he does, you know, or we want him to. Okay, so I would say obviously the best thing for me is a no-brainer. That Spider-Verse trailer, I painted my whole room white. It was just
you were cosplaying as the Spot.
Oh my god. What about you guys? Which one for you? I don't want to like
Blue Beetle for me. I think
that Blue Beetle trailer was fun.
That was number 2 for me.
Yeah,
that was number 2.
That looks way better than a DC movie trailer has looked in a long time.
That movie was an HBO Max movie that got promoted
because it tested so well, right? Yeah. That movie has George Lopez in it, and that's like blowing my mind that George Lopez is in a superhero movie, and I bet he's good in it. He looks like he's gonna be that wise father that like imparts.
He's an uncle though. He's uncle
or uncle, whatever. You know, father figure is what I mean.
Right. Mentor.
Mentor. Yeah, and I hope he doesn't Uncle Ben. I hope he does. I don't want to watch George Lopez die. I would say honestly, I mean. I'm ignoring the Ahsoka of it just because it's a different realm, but honestly, I really love that trailer too.
But that's
just Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah,
Winstead as she's Hera Syndulla, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
perfect casting.
Yeah, I mean she nails the look.
Thank you, Ewan. She's married to Ewan McGregor, right? Like,
is she?
I think she is.
Yeah.
But whoever did that casting was chef's kiss. Perfect.
I will say the one thing that got me less hyped about Blue Beetle than maybe the Ahsoka is the Blue Beetle trailer didn't really show me a villain. And that makes me think that DC is going to do the same thing they do in every movie, which is throw a villain out there that's villain of the week that is meaningless. And then giant CG battle with a character that you don't care about at the end.
And so the movie is kind of meaningless.
I'm not a big Blue Beetle guy, and maybe you guys know. So it doesn't look like they're adapting the Reach storyline, right?
Yeah.
Young Justice.
You mean from Young Justice?
Yeah.
Not.
I know it was in the comics too, but yeah.
You kind of want to do like the intro to Blue Beetle in one movie, and then get crazier later.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, like, I think he looks cool, and I think they're gonna do a great job of adapting this adaptation of Blue Beetle, right? Because this is not the original Blue Beetle. This is the one,
Like Blue Beetle number 3,
Yeah.
right?
like a decade or two ago. It's not 2 decades ago, right? It's like,
Oh yeah, it's in the early aughts. I think is when we got.
is he? Okay,
Jaime
yeah, fair
Reyes.
enough. We got Jaime Reyes. Wait, it was when DC was trying to do better and have more diversity among their characters. So they started, like,
I mean,
putting
speaking
brown
of doing
people.
better, we got 4 out of the 5 posters here are brown people. So we're doing better.
4 out of the 5 what?
Posters on this screen are starring brown people.
And the other one's a senior citizen. So yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, that is something
Yeah.
to note, like, and that's really cool. Like, that's honestly what made me so excited about the Blue Beetle movie is, like, I just love seeing so many brown people on, in charge of a story, and it's cool. It just makes me feel like, get out of here, Brian. You've had enough.
Hey, I like these stories too.
Opening
it
day,
doesn't always
Indiana
have to be
Jones
people that look
fan.
like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Ted Kord is a boring dude. No one wants to watch a movie about that.
Fair. But yeah, that
Secret
Spider-Verse
Invasion,
trailer. Are we in agreement though? The Spider-Verse one's the best one, or what?
I like Blue Beetle better. Yeah,
it's the second Spider-Verse trailer. I know.
Yeah, I'd already said. Also, I still can't, like, is the Spider 2099 the bad guy?
I think it's a misdirect, man. I think they want you to.
Do you want that though?
Are we not going to get any of the Spider-Verse villains? Is it just going to be Spider people?
Here's the
fighting
thing.
Spider people?
Here's the thing. I think he's the antagonist for a large part of this movie. Just by the way, reminder: this movie they said it's 2 parts.
Right. Yeah.
So I think he's the antagonist, and in that he's opposing Miles, in that he has an agenda that's different from Miles's, right? And I think it has to do with probably something to protect the multiverse, right? He feels that he's in charge of that, right? And Miguel often does, like, use the wisdom of being from the future to try and, like, correct things, right? And so I think it's gonna look on the surface, like, especially from the trailers, that Miguel's the bad guy. I don't think that movie's gonna end with him being the bad guy. That's my thought.
I saw some theory that it's like there's some kind of Spider-Verse eating vampires that they might be bringing in.
If they're bringing the vampires, I'm down. I'm down, because that's the actual storyline from the comics.
Okay?
The Spider or the Madam Web movie that's coming out sometime in the future. The villain of that movie is rumored to be a bad spider person as well. So
that's fair. There are bad spider people. I just don't think
it's all connected.
I think the thing with Spider-Man 2099 is he's so popular. I would be really shocked if that movie ends with him still being the bad guy. You know what I mean? Because he's too cool, and it's Oscar Isaac playing him. No.
All I know is I want to see more Spider-Punk. So
yeah, you're gonna get them all. That's I love
even
it.
spiders, man.
That poster alone is Dennis's retirement in toys. So
oh my god.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just to be clear, that poster, I have most of those already.
So you can recreate it.
I could do it.
Right. Your next side project.
I might do it. I might recreate that poster. Who knows?
Alrighty. Well,
what else you got? Oh,
recreating news from last week.
Oh boy.
Victoria Alonso's departure from Marvel is a little sticky. 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did the show. It was her departure was announced, and fast forward now, some details are coming out. The kind of short of it is she was clashing with Marvel over a lot of the prior references to Ant-Man 3. And in previous films that had been blurred or edited to appease certain countries in terms of release. And then Marvel citing her departure as a breach of contract for assisting with the Argentina documentary.
Yeah, she was promoting it.
She not only promoted, she produced it.
Yeah.
until Disney reminded her of her contract and they told her stop associating with this movie because there's a non-compete clause. And she ended up at the Oscars not promoting Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but instead promoting this small movie that she produced that was also nominated. And I think that's why, the firing took place only like a few days after the Oscars.
Wasn't she also in charge of a lot of the Marvel CG?
Yeah.
Well,
that was
that's
kind of-
that's the easy thing to say
hostile.
when she gets fired is like,
Yeah.
"Hey, what else can we blame on this person on?"
Yeah.
Right.
But yes,
Yeah.
she's supposed to
I
be the
think-
producer in charge of post-production. Yes.
Right.
I mean, I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? If at someone at her level, if she breaches a contract, that's not an instant termination. If you don't want it to be, right?
It's an excuse for instant
Right,
termination.
yeah.
Exactly.
It's-
It's a reason.
Yeah.
And to her point, there might have been bad tension there to begin with, just over her differences. So she does have a book coming out later this year. So hopefully, or we'll probably know more about the specifics until then. But I think we'll close the book on this chapter for now and bring up
there he
Ike.
is. Yeah.
Ike Perlmutter was let go. He is I forgot what is his role in he's a Marvel Entertainment Chair.
Giant piece of shit. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
He
the
is
guy in
notoriously frugal with anything and everything involving Marvel in terms of
Yeah.
budget.
And not to mention sexist and racist too, right?
Yes.
He long opposed
Yes, I totally did not realize
the
this
kind of
picture.
slide that that we looked at before. 4 out of 5 movies led by people of color and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
women. So
good riddance. He is gone. But who's back? Liv
Hey.
Tyler set to return for Captain America: New World Order as Betty Ross. You see this
So,
one
like,
coming?
Is New World Order just a secret backdoor like
it's an
Hulk
Avengers
movie?
No, it's like an Avengers movie, right? You're
It's,
gonna have everybody.
they're calling it an Avengers level movie.
Okay,
It's
'cause
on
I feel
scale
like,
with Civil War.
I feel like a lot of Hulk peeps are showing up.
Yeah, but
mean,
also a lot of, Captain America peeps, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get one other Avenger or more peeps. So,
Do you think we're gonna get Batroc the Leaper again?
oh
He
god,
died.
that would be awesome.
right?
Didn't he get
He
spattered
died.
across a canyon
Yeah.
at the beginning of
No,
Falcon
he
and the Winter
died in New
Soldier?
York. Flag Smashers killed him.
Oh, did they?
Carly killed him. Yeah.
Oh,
you're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
You're right. Damn.
I think it's cool though, right? You're getting Thunderbolt Ross back, right? Who in leaked photos is not sporting that mustache, by the way.
No. Well, the Red Hulk doesn't sport a mustache either. So,
But I like it when they do the homework or they do the work to get the supporting characters when it makes sense. And if a story is centering around Thunderbolt Ross, you may want his daughter there.
It's like it's like when they replaced when they brought in Don Cheadle to replace Terrence Howard, right? They had to do a scene.
Speaking of
like
Perlmutter.
Yeah, they had to do a scene to kind of like comfort the audiences and like make
It's
them
me,
feel
I'm here,
okay
deal with
this. Right. So this is that, right? You bring in Ross's daughter, who we haven't seen since the Incredible Hulk, to kind of legitimize the new actor playing him. And sure, I hope there's more to it than that. I really do, but we'll see.
So I think this is also interesting that it points to Marvel being willing to do this sort of mix and match across, I wouldn't say franchise, but different iterations. And it makes me wonder if maybe we see some of the old X-Men actors show up in the whatever new X-Men it is, along with new faces that have been cast, right?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean. Well, because like the Incredible Hulk is still part of the MCU, so like everybody.
Well, like they brought they brought Evan Peters, right, to Quicksilver.
But they haven't brought everyone back from those old movies, right?
Right. We're still waiting on the leader for sure.
Or the Netflix
they
show.
They brought everyone back except Ed Norton, technically, like like. So I mean, they like William Hurt was in a lot of movies up until he died, right? Like he was most recently in Black Widow. So they had every intent to keep William Hurt, rolling. But
But I do
unfortunately,
think it's interesting that, like, in other franchises, you don't see the willingness to recast or sort of do that kind of thing to keep the
Mhm.
story continuous rather than the actor, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think it depends on the situation. Like, right, I think it just got the lines got blurred because people were like recast T'Challa, and when they're like, no, we're not doing that. Like,
Yeah.
but then
Like if new
secretly
X-Men
they
comes
did it.
out and they want to do an older Beast character, right? I'd be fine. Fuck it. Bring
I
Kelsey
think
Grammer back.
the short answer to your question
Yeah.
is yes, they will do it because that Deadpool movie
Yeah.
recently confirmed that Dopinder and Blind Owl will both be returning in Deadpool 3, even though the Deadpool 3 will take place in the MCU. So yes, they're coming back. They're people are coming whenever it's
Well,
appropriate. And also remember, it's an MCU film that will have Hugh Jackman in it.
Yeah.
Dennis should be excited about this other thing coming back. Hasbro is set to
Ah.
reintroduce window boxes in their toy packaging for their 6-inch figures. How excited are you, Dennis?
I don't give a shit, but I read it. I read that news this morning. I read it this morning and it cracked me up because they're saying, "Oh, but we're using a recycled PET plastic, and so it still meets our agenda of helping reduce, the use of virgin plastics in this planet." And I'm like, but at the end of the day, it's splitting hairs, right? Because their literal job is selling new plastic. Like that's all they do. So they're not. I make no mistake. Like when I close the door on this room that's filled with action figures, if I leave it closed for like 12 hours, there's a serious plastic smell that comes out of this room. Like it's serious. Like I know that I'm not doing any favors for the environment by contributing to collecting these, and so they know it too. But they're a corporation, and they got to put up like a facade. And so
I mean, I get why they don't, but it'd be interesting to see if they do, if they were to go like a split route. Because if you're an inbox collector, obviously you want to see the thing, right?
the funny thing though is like, think about all the other things that you buy in stores that don't have windows.
It's everything. It's everything else.
Yeah.
It's everything else, right?
I get stuff shipped from Amazon in a box.
Constantly.
Like it's a box of the thing. They don't even repackage into another box. They just slap a
Exactly.
sticker on.
Yeah.
And,
So like I don't care, but hooray, a bunch of people bitched and moaned, and so now it's back. Like
no.
whatever. It makes this the dark years where like your inbox figures are like with an
They're
asterisk.
now worth more. You got to get them graded.
No. I just trash the boxes.
Oh.
I recycle all boxes. That's what I do. I recycle them all. And then this was announced. They didn't say when it's coming out, but I assume you want me to take over for this one, Ricky. But one Marvel Legend news for the week. Thank God. The Scarlet Witch from Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness will be a Target exclusive figure. It's basically just a modified
one, right?
No,
with black
the jacket's a little different, and she's got the headpiece. They never made a figure of her as Scarlet Witch in the movies. So yeah, there she is. I mean, but is she like 90% old parts from previous Wanda figures? Yes, she is. She comes with the Darkhold though, so
yeah, that's your reason right there.
Yeah, the Darkhold and the head are pretty much the new pieces. I think the arms are slightly different too, but there you go. Hooray! No news beyond that. And then, by the way, just so you know, the Marvel Legends, the Avengers ones, the Avengers like celebration figures, they've been basically doing one or two a week on pre-orders. So last week the Golden Age Iron Man went up for pre-order. This week it was the Doctor Doom and Monica Rambeau 2-pack and the Hulk and Bruce Banner 2-pack. They are great figures. They look amazing. But yeah, that's all I got. I think we're ready to talk about D&D if you want to.
Yes.
I'm tired of all that news. That was too much news. All right, let's get us amped up. This is the thing that we're here to do. We waited long enough. We're putting spotlights on not one, but two freaking D&D movies because we're dumb and we didn't think it'd be good enough to just do the one.
I mean, we almost did the 3. Brian just didn't supply us with it.
3, there's 4.
The
But
4?
one
There's
is
4.
only released in Germany. Real bad.
I found it on IMDb,
Oh,
and I was
did
like,
you?
"Whoa, what
Oh
is
yeah,
this?"
but not the video.
Oh
of
no,
it.
I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
watch it. So yeah, we're talking about. We're gonna do both of them together, but we are talking about the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie starring Jeremy Irons, Thora Birch, Justin Whalen, and Marlon Wayans, to name a few of the actors, as well as the new Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves that just came out last week, starring Chris Pratt, Michelle Rodriguez,
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pine.
I mean, sorry, Chris
the other
Pine.
CP.
It's one of the Chris's. Chris Pine. Sorry.
Peter Parker and
Hugh
Spider-Verse.
Grant, Justice Smith. Is that his name?
Yep.
Yeah. What I thought would be really fun to do is kind of do a compare and contrast, like it's a book report kind of thing. But before we do that, I just wanted to take some time to have us talk about why we did this and what D&D means to us. And I think Brian, you should go first because you're the one that made us do this.
You got the shirt on, man.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm the biggest D&D nerd amongst our group, right? I'll claim that title. If somebody wants to challenge for it, they're welcome to. So
I would definitely say you are.
Yeah.
But when did you start playing D&D?
In the 3rd grade when I was 9 years old. So that's been a very long time. That was in the mid 80s. And it was so the other D&D movie that we haven't mentioned is Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks.
Well, that's yes.
That was the first D&D movie.
I mean, that's a propaganda movie against D&D, right? Like that's what I think is really funny is how far this property has come, right?
Yeah.
Like we're in the 1980s, you literally had Tom Hanks, who was not super famous then, starring in an anti Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Well, it was wrapped up in like the Satanic Panic thing, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, yeah, the media decided that it was associated with that, right? And then that's what I thought was really funny about like a few months ago is like how far we've come when Dungeons and Dragons ended up in the news because they wanted to, mess with their creative license or the common license, right? To make it
they wanted to lock down and revoke the open gaming license, and people did not react well.
And it's so funny that like we went from Satanic Panic to, well, this is a logical business decision because we make a ton of money off of this property.
When the money's right, you gotta that Excel sheet turns green. You gotta make a move.
It's pretty funny.
So in terms of kind of my personal relationship, that means I started out playing this thing that was deeply unpopular. Like you did not tell people that you played Dungeons and Dragons, and when people found out, they often had a reaction. I definitely had a neighbor call my parents concerned that we were dabbling in Satanism because she found out that we were playing D&D. So, what's up, Mrs. Pugh? Look at never sacrifice them cats.
She's still alive?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I assume. I don't know. My parents are going to call her like, how dare you?
I just figured she would have been high on your sacrificial list.
Yeah, they moved away. So
I mean, what keeps you going all these years though? Like what's
I mean, so what well, let me turn around to you. Why do you guys like it? Like, I mean, I remember the first time we played, you were like, this is awesome, right? What is it that gets you sort of excited about it? And I think that'll answer your question as well.
So you're assuming you're saying I said it was awesome, right? Because I don't think Ricky ever says it's awesome unless it's Ricky, low quality movie.
Fun.
Ricky showed up again, which I took to mean he thought it was awesome. So
He pretty much, if he says I had fun, that's his bar right there. And in fairness to Ricky, like, you know, I know I'm speaking over your experience, but like Ricky hasn't played Dungeons and Dragons in person yet.
No,
We've started playing with Ricky last year.
I'm a remote hire.
You know, a remote
2 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's been on.
ago?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so like I look forward to the day when we can actually play it, you know, in a more real, you know, tangible setting. But
Get
I
that
do
Cheeto and Mountain Dew.
but I
thing
do
going on.
appreciate the just the experience of crafting a story together with your friends, and also being silly in ways that normal like decorum does not allow. You know what I mean? Like I think in most social situations, uh there's still certain social obligations, unless you're getting like super drunk and you intend to end up in jail at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like like because you went to downtown and you just want to start fights. I think the majority of the time you go out with your friends and you still have to be some level, some modicum of respectful to your fellow strangers and stuff like that. But when you do D&D or any role-playing game in among friends in a private setting, you can do whatever the hell you want without repercussion. Like, and that's hilarious.
It's a weird like
Time
sticking
out
point
in
for
case
you.
any of my other players are watching this.
Imaginary stuff. I mean, imaginary, like on like not
So-
real. Like you don't.
This is not my choice of like
So
why I
let
like
me
D&D.
kind of recontextualize what you just said in terms of the question you asked me, which was what do I like about it? I like that it can be anything you want it to be.
Yes.
But it has it right. One of the other things is it's not just sitting around telling stories and bullshitting.
No, it's creating a story.
Right, but there's also rules that can make things go in directions that you had not intended. Right? Anytime you roll a 1 or a 20, things shift around you, right? Because you're like, what happened? Well, you know, that was really good, or that was really bad. And it sort of pushes these things in directions where it's improv with rules, right? In a lot of ways.
And so, and to be fair, so my first role playing experience actually wasn't D&D. It was Star Wars with
Star
you,
Wars,
right?
yeah.
Because I mean, technically, I bought like a Marvel role playing game a million years ago when I was a kid because it said Marvel on it.
Yep,
bought
the
it,
TSR one,
and I was like, too many words, and I was like, and my friend and I sat around the table trying to learn the rules. We didn't understand. And we didn't realize that you needed more than 2 people to make that work too, right? And so we just gave up, and I put that box away, and I never played that game. And so when it was in college, and I was asked, "Hey, Dennis, we're gonna go play Star Wars role playing game with Brian," and I was like, "That sounds dumb," because I remembered what it was like when I tried doing that at home, right? And I was like, "No, that sounds dumb." And then after like 1 or 2 Friday nights sitting at home by myself, because all of my friends were over hanging out with you, I was like, all right, I changed my mind. Let me try this crap. And once I realized, like through testing you, or realize, okay, everybody says you can do whatever you want, like, but can you really do whatever you want? And you can. And for me, being silly with a group of friends, or sometimes actually saving the day when they don't expect you to, those are the moments that you can keep forever, and no video game can give you that experience. And that's what I appreciate about D&D is really the camaraderie and the shared successes and failures that come from it, you know.
I mean, it's I definitely appreciate the, I mean, it sounds silly, the friendship of it all. You know, I get to hang out with a group of friends on a weekly basis and solve a problem. It honestly takes me back to school when when I was in computer science, and we would have to figure out some type of algorithm or problem set or whatever, and working together as a team to get through this. That's what I honestly like love about D&D, that innovation that just happens with a bunch of people doing silly shit. But to Dennis's point, like the stories that come out of it are uniquely ours, right?
Yeah.
Like if you play a video game, we all can beat the final boss in slightly different ways, but it's still the same cutscene animation at the end. But these are our own stories.
Yeah,
Right.
it's still predetermined by the game developers, the limited amount of ways you can beat something, right? Whereas like when I did my own D&D campaign, and I made it so when everybody, the party finally after this long quest arrived to fight the bad guy, and he's not there, and then you hear the toilet flush, and it's because he's in the bathroom. You better believe that I died laughing when that same scene happened in Iron Man 3, because I created that moment for my players years ago. You know what I mean? And like, whether or not it reads for everybody, I don't care, because it read for me. You know what I mean? Like, and that's like you said, it's uniquely ours. Like, it's cool when other people share your sense of humor or share your appreciation for how you tell a story, but you know, it's also funny when you got that one guy that's sitting in the same room as you that is super rigid and doesn't understand why everybody else is acting a fool, because then you just kind of play it off of him. You're like, well, we're gonna make your life miserable. You know, like it's
but that person is still getting something out of the game too, right? There's a lot of different ways to play it, and
yeah,
you know,
it's true.
You know, we do have the people we make fun of sometimes at the table. Sorry, Ricky, but
but so with all that said, I think that sets a good like expectation for going into these movies, right? And I think and I, you know, my wife was actually watching the original D&D with me for part of the time today when I was rewatching that, which I don't think I've seen that movie since 2000 when I saw it with you in theaters. I think
Wow.
I'm pretty sure I saw that with you, Brian. Like,
and you know what's frustrating is that movie came out just a few months before The Matrix, right? And
I know,
at
right?
the time, we were like, it's not a good movie, but it's about as good as they can do for fantasy sci-fi.
That's
and then
pre Lord of the Rings, right?
Yeah, it was a year before Lord of the Rings,
but it's after the Phantom
damn
Menace
company.
Yeah, it's after the Star Wars prequels, though.
Yeah, but remember, the Star Wars prequels were sort of in a league of their own.
Yeah,
there was nothing else that was even coming close in terms of budget and special effects.
Mortal Kombat.
Sure. Yeah, I forgot.
But yeah, I saw this movie, I'm pretty sure with you in theaters, and we were like, but like, here's the thing, like when I was rewatching it today, and I was like, you know, this is the first time my wife had ever seen it. I looked at her and I said, you know, here's the thing, this poor movie. You have to understand that, like, there was no way this movie was ever going to live up to people's expectations, right? Because of everything we just said.
Yeah.
Like, there was, like, the people making movies at that time did not relate to audiences the way that Marvel movies do now, or the way that Star Wars shows do now, or movies, or the way that a ton of fan service experiences do nowadays, right? The business of fan service wasn't around then. In 2000, George Lucas just got done like getting crapped on by the internet for movies that he made that he thought everybody wanted. So this was clearly a movie that studios thought there was a monetary reason to make this movie.
Well, I'm sure you get the green light, like, hey, shit, they're doing a Lord of the Rings movie at
no, New Line, who put out this movie, did the Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah, they did both.
Yeah, they did both.
God bless them for still doing Lord of the Rings after this movie.
Well, I think for Lord of the Rings, they were so deep into it when this came out, and I remember there being a lot of freakouts that.
I mean, a lot of the stuff is probably contractual too, right? If you have the rights, you have to do something with it within X amount of time, right?
Sure, but like
Yeah,
I don't mean to sound down on it, but like really, I I felt
It's
I looked at it through a kinder lens today when I watched it because I said, God bless this movie. It was trying to be a serious Dungeons and Dragons type story. The
yes,
o- the
but
only
here's the thing.
problem,
If you take the name Dungeons and Dragons off that movie, would you have looked at that in any way and said, this is a D&D movie?
no.
nope.
Well, other than a beholder being in 5 seconds of it.
Oh my God. Yeah. So bad.
So that the reason I would say no, and I think again, where I would say yes to the new movie is it comes down to did it really pay tribute to that experience of 4 to 7 people sitting around a table, each bringing their own personality and their own ideas to help contribute to the success of a campaign?
Right.
No. What that movie did is it decided to be a vehicle for Justin Whalen. And at every turn, every time he almost does something with his party, circumstances arise to make him have to do it himself. And as I watched this movie and that kept happening, I kept saying to myself, everybody knows the DM does not like the party to separate, because what that means is now he has to go in a separate room and the DM has to pick up his books, walk in there, and make the party wait in the other room. And he has to go back and forth and do the story. We've seen it done, right? They did it in Community.
Yeah.
It was hilarious in Community, but only through the power of editing, right? Like, but you and I, we've done that legitimately for real. And it sucks for you, right? It sucks for the DM because you have to now work 2 different rooms in the same
And
place,
I'd say I don't even think it's that. It wasn't just that he was splitting the party. Justin Whalen was the and for people who are not familiar with the old D&D movie, should we give them like just a brief recap of? You want to try to summarize that?
Actually,
I watched it today, and I can't tell you what happened.
Hold on, I have this recap, and I want you guys to guess which movie this is the recap for.
Okay.
A charming thief and a band of unlikely adventurers embark on an epic quest to retrieve a lost relic, but things go dangerously awry when they run afoul of the wrong people.
That's a new movie because you said thief and not thieves.
Fair enough. And
yes,
that's the only
the
difference, right?
Yeah.
That's literally the only difference. And yet the execution is phenomenally different.
So I watched the old movie a few hours ago, and I just got out of the theater for the new one. And with it all still fresh
today?
I never saw it. I saw it for the first time today.
Oh, you watched it today?
Yeah, I just got back.
So wait, you watched the old one before the new one, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this will be interesting.
To you.
Yeah. My take on it is the 2000 movie is what my perception of D&D was before I started playing. And if I'm being honest, I didn't hate that movie. I didn't love it. I think it's just like it's perfect B fodder material. But I will say, with slightly better writing, it may be a better FX budget. That movie is on scale with Pirates of the Caribbean.
No.
I think it's there.
No, you know what it is?
I think it's there.
You know why it's not there?
The acting is terrible.
It's the directing. And it's because like my wife was saying this because she was watching it through the whole time, and actor after actor continues to just deliver underwhelming performances. And she says when it's this consistent, it's not the actors, it's the director. And I tend to believe her on that, because I mean, when have you ever seen Jeremy Irons be terrible in anything other than this movie?
There's a whole bunch of scenes where you look at it and you're like, so that's the best take they got? Like,
right? Every
people are
take with
looking off
Thora
to the
Birch.
side.
Every take with Thora Birch was the worst take they had.
Well, I'm pretty sure she was mostly acting against, like
Green
special
screens and
effects.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt bad for her in the one scene where she's talking to the elf, but on a mirror. And I'm like, couldn't you just have her in the room off
Yeah, like a
off
projection.
camera so that she could have somebody to actually act against? Like, yes, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But like, just to clarify before we lose track, the reason I gave you guys that recap is because it was hilarious how efficient that recap applies to both movies, with the exception of technically there's two thieves, but I dare you to tell me that Marlon Wayans' character had above an 8 roll in any skill.
I mean, he put stuff in a pocket.
What was the function of that character? He is the worst party member ever.
Really? You thought that he was worse than the dwarf?
Yes, because the dwarf actually did a leg sweep on Damodar.
Oh, that's true. He did. Yeah.
Yes, the dwarf actually held his own. Okay, Marlon Wayans is redundant thief. It doesn't make any sense. It's like 2 years ago when we had Ricky and Clark being thieves, and it's like, well,
yeah,
one of you is good, and one of you is
businessman,
Wayans.
right?
One of you is Ricky.
Oh shit, we got Marlon Wayans to do a D&D movie. Yeah, we're in.
Yeah,
right. That's where that makes sense.
That's not what I said when they cast Marlon Wayans in that movie. I said, "Oh, damn it, Marlon Wayans is in this movie."
Yeah.
For me, like Marlon Wayans is the one person who, like, the exception to the rule for him is Requiem for a Dream.
That could have been
like
Robin.
I've never seen him be better than Requiem for a Dream. Everything else he's in, he is annoying sidekick character. G.I. Joe, Marlon Wayans. Dungeons and Dragons, Marlon Wayans. Like, you could just keep finding his movies, and it's just.
Well, and in this one, he's just so unrestrained. Like,
he's too unrestrained. Yeah. And just to be clear, the other thing that really kind of weirded me out about this movie is because everything was taken so seriously. Like, it made it weird.
That's where it was jarring.
Yeah, it made it weird at times because it made it it made it funny in that I want to laugh at it, not with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's what was the weird part. Like, everybody was nobody let themselves have fun in this
no one's
movie.
making fun of Damodar for wearing silver lipstick, right? Like, I wanted to bring a third movie into this, which is, for me, up until the most recent D&D movie, one of the best D&D movies that came out, even though it wasn't, which is Your Highness. And I know Dennis is a huge fan of Your Highness, but Your Highness feels like a Dungeons and Dragons group, right?
But Your Highness feels like a group of friends got high, played a game, recorded it, and then acted it out in movie form. And I love it for that, because it's a
better D&D movie than the 2000 D&D movie.
It's a better D&D movie than most D&D movies. Okay, it's like most fantasy movies.
Low bar up until a few weeks ago, though.
Yeah. Obviously, we would say the new one is, like, everywhere the old movie fails, the new one succeeds, right? And I think the biggest success, aside from just the fact that you got actors that really seemed to care and really understood what playing D&D felt like, or
at least are professional enough, right?
Right, because I promise you, they did not sit Jeremy Irons down to play a game around, with all the friends. No, they just were like, "Oh yeah, just twirl your mustache." But I don't have a mustache. Do something. Just do something. But no, the new movie, Honor Among Thieves, the real beauty of it is they start at the beginning, which is everybody's experience playing D&D lives or dies by the backstory. The backstory is the first assignment that the D&D DM gives everybody, right?
Yeah.
And you can make it as rich as you want, or you can make it as generic as you want. Every single character in the 2000 movie, I couldn't tell you a single one of their backstories.
Well, it's good. It's just good storytelling, period, with an ensemble type movie.
Right.
Every single character in Honor Among Thieves has the best backstory that outdoes the one you heard right before it. And it's amazing to me. Like every time, like they spent at least
And they keep coming
45
back to it
minutes.
too, right?
They spent like 45 minutes of that movie establishing every character's backstories before the actual adventure began, right? And it was so worth it. The fact that like Chris Pine is this guy that used to be a noble member of the
Harper, right? Yeah.
the Harpers.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
Harpers. Yeah, the Harpers.
See, I've never run a Forgotten Realms campaign for you guys. Otherwise, you would have been going, "Oh, we've been there."
Yeah,
So,
but the Harpers, like that are basically a band of rogues, that do good stuff, right? Like that do good things.
they're like secret, they're like secret agents that
Robin Hood
do
Club.
things. Yeah,
Yeah, secret agents and stuff like that. But then he's also got the love of his life and a kid on the way, and he wants to figure out a way to provide for them. And next thing you know, he ends up falling into his old habits. He steals a tiny bit, and then that ends up backfiring, all to end up with his wife dying in a way that they cannot revive her. Which I love that little bit, right?
They really did their homework with explaining that.
Yeah, they really, really did, and so they made you, because honestly, that was my thing when Marlon Wayans died. I was like, so you're gonna revive him, right?
They do kind of.
They
right?
do.
Yeah.
kind of, but like he has to miss the rest of the campaign, right?
Yeah,
like he has to sit it out, and then he gets told, oh, by the way, we brought you back at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Good agent.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so his wife dies, and then he ends up like, how does he end up in prison after that? I'm trying to remember.
He falls in with what's her face to get the
With
tablet.
Holga.
Remember?
Holga.
No, not Holga, the Red Wizard.
Oh, sorry.
Hires them.
In the time
and
stop.
Holga end up with the Red Wizard and Hugh Grant's character.
Yeah.
And then they get framed. Yes. What's the name again?
Forge. Get framed. They did still shit.
And they also had Justice Smith's inept sorcerer there.
Well, they get set up as the patsies. That's what I mean to say. Not framed, but they get set up to take the fall, and now they're in prison and they want to break out, but they can't break out. So they're waiting patiently for their hearing and hoping to God that Jonathan shows up.
Jarnathan.
What is it?
Jarnathan.
Oh, it's Jarnathan?
Jarnathan.
I thought it was Jonathan. Okay.
No, it's Jarnathan. It's even funnier.
Oh, okay. But, and their whole thing is they're waiting for Jarnathan because he's got wings and they want to push him out the window and hope to God that he flies to get away. And I just like everything about that story is so much better shown.
Yeah, the moment
than how I told it.
It was like, this is what I would do. And it's also a
quintessential D&D moment as the DM, right? There's plenty of times when I've been like, all right, this is going to happen. And you guys are like, nah, we're going to do something completely stupid instead.
Yes.
Right? It's like, why don't we do the hearing, roll your persuasion? Like, nah, I'm going to ride the Aarakocra out the goddamn window. Like, all right, let's see what happens.
They ride the joke too, right? It was like, oh yeah, you were pardoned.
Yeah,
like that's the payoff right there. It's like
he made the persuasion check.
Yeah, it's like
that. It's so good, and then like I'm in for the ride, right? Because they showed me this wonderful story, and then you start meeting all the other characters, and it's not just like, hello, I'm this person. What is the quest? No, it's hello. Allow me to tell you my entire life story. And each one of them, you like, depending on your level of patience, you could either roll your eyes and say, Jesus Christ, are you going to get to the story or what? Or you could be like, I'm listening. I want to see where this goes. And I chose to be that person. And I think the way they go about telling you these stories is just funny enough, just sad enough, just all the emotions that you find it okay, right? Ricky, you just saw it today, right? And did you enjoy every single backstory that you got?
I don't know if like the backstories are the things that did it for me, but I'm
not saying it's what did it for you, but it's what kicks off the experience and gets you invested in the characters, right?
And it also gives you a clear sense of what they each can do.
They were unique for sure. Especially like the Chris Pine character's angle, the bard's angle of losing his wife, but then having this friend, surrogate mother type character.
Yeah.
Don't you wish you played that rogue, right? Don't you wish that was your rogue instead of the one where you're like, I was adopted. I don't remember who my parents are, and I'm gonna go kill the people who adopted me.
To that point, did I have any reference for like where the hell they were?
Exactly. And so
No.
I'm not knocking you technically, like in this moment. What I'm telling you is this movie gave new players about 5 templates that they can use from here on out that are actually good places to start for making characters, right?
All right, so Brian, I want to rework my character.
But right, like Holga's story was awesome, right? She's a barbarian with a thing for halflings. She's got a mad thing for halflings, right? But she couldn't,
which is one of the better cameos too, right?
But oh man, Bradley Cooper, awesome in that movie. I just believed every person in that movie the entire time. I really believed they gave their full commitment to these characters. And yeah, I just really loved Holga's story. That it made me kind of sad, and that it made it so beautiful that like Chris Pine's entire motivation through this whole movie is to bring back his dead wife, so that he says it's for his daughter,
right?
But it's not, right? Because Holga is the one that raised this person, this whole movie, this whole story.
Says that line that really got me was, he says, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to bring back your mom. I wanted to bring back my wife."
Right.
Yeah.
That's powerful stuff.
But he'd also made his whole character about doing things for his daughter, and he realized if he wants to do it, he's got to grow and become a different person.
Grow and accept that Holga is that girl's mom. And I think that's a really cool thing that happens. And then even though those were amazing backstories, and you keep rushing through all these other ones, then you meet the paladin, and oh my god, best paladin ever, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know.
You don't like Happy Gilmore in our campaign? She's going to be devastated.
No. I feel like the problem with paladins in general is like they're required to be rigid, but in a way that like isn't necessarily vibing with the person playing them, because there's something about it that's like, oh, but I have to do it because of my religion, like, and like it's so they play it as best they can, but like it's hard, right? It's hard to relate. But what I think is really cool about this paladin, remind me his name, Ricky.
Couldn't tell you.
Senk.
Is it Senk?
Yep, Xenk.
Okay, yes, Senk. Is his character is rigid in his own motivations, but for ways that actually make sense and make him very altruistic, but also make him too good to stick around for the party, right? Like he's the wandering hero. Like, so you get him for the limited time you get him, and it actually, the movie's probably better for it, right? Because he kind of breaks things if he's there the entire time.
He's the guest player that sits in for a few weeks and plays their way over leveled character, right?
Yes, exactly.
Like he's 14th level, everyone else is like 8th level. It's just like, oh, no,
for sure.
Let me handle this.
For sure. Yeah. But so anyways, I guess like where else would you want to compare and contrast these two movies in ways that are fun for you? Go, Brian. Tell me what you.
All right. Well, so I think we touched upon it a little bit already, but the D&D 2000 movie, I think, never. It had everything stacked against it going into it. Even if they had written a good script, gotten a director that knew what he was doing, right, not had the production problems they had, you weren't going to get that, because that's a point in time where studios don't trust the property. And you guys remember this, or Dennis, I know at least you'll remember this, with all the superhero movies that would come out in the like late 90s and early aughts, where the studios would basically say, we're going to get rid of this, this, and this because it's too comic booky, right? People won't like it. And then the fandom's like, okay, it's kind of cool, I guess, but it's not really true to it, right? It's its own thing. Well, D&D, right, didn't even have the sort of cultural cachet that like Marvel or DC had. So the studio was able to just kind of steamroll whatever they wanted. And what that meant was this movie became a Justin Whalen vehicle because some of the executives thought that he was going to be a next budding star. And so you get this weird freaking thing. And then the other thing that happens, I don't know if either of you guys looked into the background of the guy that directed it.
I thought it was is it a guy, Courtney something?
Yeah.
Right?
So he went to he went to TSR, which was the company that originally owned Dungeons and Dragons in the early 90s, and convinced them to sell him the film rights when I think he was like 19 or 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God, Courtney
Yeah,
Solomon.
he basically bullshitted them into selling him the film rights. And then they kind of worked with him, but in a way where they were not, it wasn't helpful. And then TSR gets sold to Wizards of the Coast in the late 90s, and Wizards comes in, tries to void the deal. They're told they can't. So they add some stipulations, one of which is that he's not allowed to use any of the established campaign settings. So right out the window is anything that some of the fans may recognize. You have to create their own story, and they get all of these problems and that just kind of pile up. And then he can't find a director, so he decides to direct it himself. And he's never directed anything before, so you notice that, right? Yeah. And then they apparently shot on location in Prague, but they ran out of money and had to hire locals to do a lot of the sets and costuming, which is why it looks like it's a cheap Xena knockoff, right?
I thought it looked.
I like the sets and knockoffs.
I like the sets that they did. I was very surprised that
if you freeze frame, you can see how cheap a lot of them are, though. Like
I will say that
like
rod,
a TV production,
the rod that's used to control the red dragons is the most plastic thing I've ever seen. It looks terrible, but I like Damodar's outfit. I like his whole look.
Some of the things look good practical, right?
My wife liked Damodar so much that she Googled him to see, is this guy gay? Because he really is living his best life right now in this movie. And she looked it up, and it turns out he has never confirmed nor denied, but because of his performances in Dungeons and Dragons and The Mummy, which are both very makeup heavy roles, apparently the gay community.
Is he the Mummy?
Yes, he's the Mummy.
He's
Emotep. He's Emotep. Because of his roles in both of those, apparently the gay community has embraced him as an honorary gay, even though he's never confirmed. Damodar looks awesome.
You get another gay icon in Richard O'Brien in this film too. He's the guild leader for the Thieves Guild.
Oh, that guy was pretty great.
Who he is, right?
Yeah.
He's the guy who wrote Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was Riff Raff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I will say that when my wife was watching the movie through that part of it, and she was like, wait a second, did Brian just copy this entire movie for his last campaign? I would say that section of the movie did feel like a Brian campaign. And that's why I was telling you guys before we started talking, before we started recording, I actually really liked the first half of this movie. It was
the setup's there.
The setup is there, right? Yeah.
But the characters aren't developed, right? And
correct. No one has a backstory. No one has an actual
maybe better acting gets you there.
I don't think it's just better acting
too.
I think it's better storytelling in general.
Script.
But the beats, I don't have issues, like, getting to your point. I don't have any issues with the beats for the first half of that movie.
Yeah, they're fine. The first half is fine. It's just somewhere along the way, it just becomes a Justin Whalen movie where a bunch of other characters don't have lines and just sit around and have random magical walls stop them from joining him on the quest. And it makes no sense. It just makes, and like the worst part is, okay, when he stops to, like, when a magical wall appears and he has to go and do it on his own, you never even cut back to see what they're doing.
No,
they just wait until he's done. And I'm like, and then he comes back out and they've all been captured, and it's like, what? They all got captured? Like, I don't understand.
Were they
By
just
the
standing
way,
there?
Marina is the worst mage ever. She kicks their ass in the beginning of that movie so hard. I was like, yeah, I like this
and then
girl.
nearly
She's
never really
tough.
lightning bolts again.
Didn't
And
they
then
call
she
her like a
never,
level
ever,
one?
what's that?
They called her like,
They call her a low-level mage at
yes,
one point.
yes.
A low-level mage is still way more powerful than most regular people.
Well, also a low-level mage. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the game nitpicks here that the fandom has discussed over the years. I was about to push it too far.
She can't cast some of the spells she cast.
No, she claims that she was going to cast a feeble mind on them, which you have to be a 7th level mage minimum to pull that off. So
she says she's going to cast feeble mind on herself to consider even, dating him or whatever. Yeah, something like that. I don't know. It was supposed to be an insult. It was dumb.
No. There was an early scene when she caught them in the library where she threatens to feeble mind them, and Justin Whalen makes some crack about, oh well, it won't really make it any difference for snails,
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Wah, wah.
Fair enough. I hated that character so much.
Which one?
Yes.
Hadley or Snails?
No, I hated Marina because she seemed to be the best actor in the movie, and she was given no agency in that movie.
Yeah.
She actually, I really believed her every time she did.
Of the time.
It's of the time, but that sucks because it could have been more, because that's the thing. D&D, like I mean, yes, it's mostly a male dominated and source of entertainment, but like we need to be breaking those barriers, right?
Yeah, it's been changing. Yeah,
Yeah. The new movie does a great job at doing that. The 2000 movie does not
I
do a
think
good job.
To your point about Marina, one of the notes I made when I was rewatching it was, it feels like every one of the main characters is acting in a different movie.
Yeah.
Like there's not, you don't get the sense that they're moving towards common purpose.
They are never moving towards common purpose. And I think that's the beauty of the new movie, Honor Among Thieves, is that they actually achieve their goal, which is, to save the daughter and get the riches and everything like that. And they achieve the goal, and they're on the boat heading out. And this, for me, was the moment where I was like in love with this movie, because, like, as I always say on this show, what I want to see out of a superhero movie is heroes behaving heroically. Yeah. And when they're leaving the town just before the evil red wizard is going to suck the souls out of everybody and turn them into mindless zombies and stuff, the entire city, right?
Yeah.
They see the dark cloud up above, and they're fine. They're getting away. They're going to be safe. They can go live their lives. And they look at it and they say, we got to turn back. As a collective party, they say we got to turn back. And for me, that was the coolest thing, because you see a group of people that might not even be able to succeed at this, but they're going to go back and do something heroic because they know it's the right thing to do. And that we most of the time do that when we play the game, because we know the alternative is the game ends. If we, we could go off and not do the fun, exciting thing, but like, you'll probably kill us for doing that or something like that.
I mean, I'll let you go off, whatever. But I think what you're touching upon is that D&D has a lot of reluctant heroes.
Yes.
And they did a good job of showing, like, each of them had their own motivation, but they were also willing to work together at the end to defeat the big bad that they were kind of responsible for, at least, somewhat. So
yeah, I love that.
I guess we should do the
all I gotta say is, I don't know how you trust that lady from the start.
Oh no, for sure. She like sometimes you can just profile somebody on the way they look.
Profiling's okay in D&D.
Well,
Oh,
like,
you
there's
can
a
do a
reason
lot
she
in
covered up
D&D.
those tattoos. Everyone sees red wizards and they're like, no, bad.
She is the most evil looking person ever. Like Jeremy Irons has nothing on this lady.
He looks like a dude.
Wait, wait, wait.
Damodar has nothing on this lady.
Have you watched the other sci-fi fantasy show that she's currently in?
No. What
She's
is
in
it?
Shadow and Bone. Have
Oh,
you watched
okay.
it?
Is
Have
she
you watched
more
it?
evil?
No, she does not play. She plays like a really kind of princessy, fancy, like not a. You don't get evil vibes at all.
Is it Sophina, right? Is the character she plays, right? Like the
Yeah,
villain? Is that the Red Wizard's name?
yeah, that's her name.
Is
Sorry,
it
my
Daisy
phone's.
Head, played by Daisy Head?
Yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I don't recognize that actress at all. I just know that I loved her as a super evil person.
yeah, they did a good job with makeup, making her look.
The red wizards
Evil.
looked really cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited to run into those.
I
Again.
hope we get another movie with Sastam because he is awesome. He's her boss, the Lich.
Right, the
Mhm.
Lich, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was pretty certain if this movie does well, which I believe it is, it's not doing as well as John Wick 4, but it's still
No,
doing
but
it's still
John
doing
Wick
well.
4 is a major franchise film, so
Yeah, exactly. But
what I mean, what do you want? Do you want? Does a sequel for you involve a new party or the same party?
I don't care. I think the sequel for me has to involve, the same sense of fun, right?
think
I
it
don't
needs
care if that's new people or not.
Yeah, I think for me, it honestly, like, it would be nice if it continues the Lich's story. Because I feel I feel it's wasteful whenever you tease a big bad and don't deliver on it later. Does it need Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez? It would be nice, but I think what it really needs is John Francis Daly and Jonathan Goldstein,
Yeah.
who are the writers and directors of this movie, because those guys actually give a shit about D&D, and it showed. And that's the thing that you want the most, right? You don't want this guy that sneakily bought the rights from TSR when he was 19 years
To
old.
be clear, he cared about the game. He didn't have any filmmaking experience.
Fair enough. Right, fair enough.
But you need filmmakers who also love the game, right?
Exactly. You need people who have the credentials, but also have the street cred. And I think it just bled. This movie bled love for Dungeons and Dragons. Like when I watched the old movie, and I was really annoyed at a specific thing. Like, yes, the CG is bad. We all know it's bad, right? But I think what really annoyed me the most is the actors really don't interact with the monsters of the world in any meaningful way at all.
That costs money.
They just don't actually interact, period. Right? Like the dwarf's basically the best you're gonna get in that movie.
Those two janky orcs that are in one scene.
Yeah, but they don't talk. They don't do anything, right? They don't ever say anything. Like there, that scene at the end when Thora Birch is trying to raise up her rod, and Jeremy Irons is like, he summons this weird wraith skeleton thing.
Yeah.
I honestly, by the way the scene was done, I couldn't tell for a moment. Wait, is the skeleton helping her lift her arm, or is she resisting it?
Had some real Jason the Argonauts energy there.
Yeah, there's no interaction with them, and there's no real love of the D&D monsters in that movie. Then you go and watch Honor Among Thieves, and the amount of attention that they put into a displacer beast is freaking amazing.
Or the little Easter eggs. Did you catch the rust monsters fighting over a piece of scrap in the one scene?
No,
I don't know that I did.
Yeah, go back and watch. There's a lot. The tabaxi getting pulled out of the fish, and then the whole wild shape scene has lots of little Easter eggs in the background.
I know there's a lot. I mean, obviously, the biggest Easter egg being the entire party from the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon is featured several times in that.
Oh, they're in the jail, right?
They're at the
reached
arena.
the same thing.
Yeah, the maze.
They're the maze. Yes.
Yeah.
And I assume they got their souls sucked out because they're stuck there when everybody else evacuates. Right. And what a cool, creative way to save the people of that arena, right? Is to start using your brand new magical item that you found recently and just start like making people terrified so they run out of
Like with
like
my basic D&D
And dropping
knowledge,
money on them too. Don't forget that.
yeah.
I felt like
Sorry.
they
Excited is
played
what I
the
meant to say.
hits, the D&D hits, right? You got the cool creatures, you got the cube, the gelatinous cube, and
You got the
chest,
owlbear.
owlbear, the
I mean, we
chest
didn't
with
get
the
all the
key.
hits, but yeah, we got a
You
good
got
smattering of
way
them.
more hits than you got ever before in a previous D&D story.
Also,
right?
we got what's his name, Dumbercho, the fat dragon. So
Is that a name dragon in
he is a
D&D?
name dragon. His whole story in the game is that a group of dwarves captured him to heat their furnaces, and they just feed him and feed him and feed him to keep him happy. And he's gotten too fat. And he really, he's got a couple of different plot lines. He actually has like an entire like chunk of an adventure dedicated to him.
That's awesome.
So, but yeah,
you know
he
what
is
the
a thing.
But you
not
know what
just
the
a
best
random
part
thing.
about him is like he reads on so many levels. One, he's funny to audiences because look at him, he's a fat dragon. And as
And we're not
as
used
a
to seeing that.
as an innocent bystander, you might even think it's funny in that world, right? But as a person running for your life from him, I love that he's still an entirely credible threat, right?
Yeah.
So like they don't get to stop and laugh at how fat that thing is because that thing will eat the shit out of you, right? And so I love it. I love watching that entire sequence as an in the theater because I'm like, this is amazing on so many levels because every actor was actually acting as though a giant dragon is going to eat them. And I appreciated that. Just like the displacer beast, just like the cube, like every time a creature showed up, you felt like they were really responding to that. And that's, it makes the world real.
Do you remember how when they were doing the promos for The Hobbit, we got the behind the scenes shots of Benedict Cumberbatch pretending to be Smog? I want to see the pre CGI whoever's doing the fat dragon.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, no, I bet you could spend another hour telling us about every single little thing that was in that movie. And I that's why I really want to know though, like obviously we watched the old one as a joke, right? I wanted Ricky to taste the poop that we tasted before he went and dined on the 7-course meal, but Brian, I got
this could I think we could still get better D&D movies than this. Right? This
felt
isn't
like
the upper end.
I had a 7-Eleven hot dog. That's what that first movie is.
Yeah.
It's
that you got out of a dumpster.
You say tomato, say tomato.
It's serviceable.
I will say one of the other things the original movie had stacked against it was it really did come out at the tail end of bad CGI before they started really leveling up, right? Because if you look at movies from later that year, Matrix and Lord of the Rings, so much ahead of the CGI in that, but they're only a year away.
Yeah. But like I said, also the expectations, right? Whereas this movie, I wasn't excited to see the new movie until the week before I went to see the movie. Like I honestly was so burned from previous Dungeons and Dragons movies that I'm like, I don't know. I feel like Hasbro really wants another win. And like, honestly, Hasbro doesn't have a great track record for movies that tell good stories, right? Yeah. That make you feel good about yourself. That
Hasbro doesn't have a good track record with its properties. This is a surprising win for them.
No, Hasbro has a good track record with its properties in other forms. Just not in movies.
Like they're geek, they're really like the Wizards of the Coast stuff, not so much. Like D&D, Magic,
fair enough.
Those
fair
things.
Enough. Yes,
even when they had the Star Wars license,
they still have the Star Wars license.
They don't have the Star Wars license anymore.
Hasbro?
Not for role playing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, for tabletop.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, maybe they have it for action figures, but
yeah.
Not for. They lost it for tabletop.
Fair enough.
Which you have to be pretty bad.
But I think there was a lot of things going into this movie working against it.
The bar
And
was low.
the bar
Like,
was low, and I think that's what made this so awesome. Is like it wasn't until like that last trailer where they showed the team using the spell to like to
Raise
ask
dead.
to raise dead and
Or
ask
speak with
ask
dead.
somebody 5 questions. Like that
Yes.
that trailer that question that scene was funny, but I was still like, really? But like, is this just like the one funny scene in the whole movie? And then I read a review that was like, this movie's funny all the way through. It's not like the funniest movie ever, but it has a sense of humor that it never loses. And once I understood that it's a comedy and an action movie,
Yeah.
I felt welcome to go see that movie, because I'm like,
well,
that's my problem with the old one. It's not funny.
It's got comic relief, but it's not a comedy.
It's a good entry, and I think I'd be curious, honestly, to see what the box office does for it, because it is a weird time, right? You're post Shazam, post John Wick, but it's. I will say I will be surprised if they do another one, because I don't see this movie I don't see this movie crossing that threshold.
I think it. So I want to say 2 things. One, you were saying that it's a low bar, but I wanted to sort of just to pick up Dennis's point from earlier and say, but we're used to seeing properties we love not be able to clear that low bar, right? So the fact that it even cleared the low bar is great. But I do think with international box, it's going to be profitable. And for, is it Paramount that's producing it? Or distributing
at least Olivia Munn's seen this movie like 5 times.
But for Paramount, what does Paramount have as a franchise tentpole right now?
Star Trek.
Is it Paramount or is it Universal?
Yeah, where's that going with the movie stuff?
Oh yeah, nowhere with movies, but they also have Ninja Turtles and Transformers, and they have everything.
But are they doing well enough that they can turn down another franchise, even if it's a low earning one right now?
They have everything that Tom Cruise ever makes.
Right.
So, I mean,
but Mission Impossible isn't selling a lot of toys.
They can't,
but they don't necessarily make money on the toys.
In fact, they can.
But I think here they from what I understand, they have a very favorable licensing deal that they signed with Hasbro.
That's fair. That's fair.
Which is one of the reasons you've seen it promoted the hell. Like all of Ricky, you've got the transforming beholder from it, even though it ain't in there. No
I know, right? Was he ever in the trailers? No. I could have sworn there was supposed to be a beholder, or maybe it's just the toys.
I don't think so. So you want to talk about future film opportunities? I think I would love to see like a film set in Waterdeep, dealing with the Xanathar Guild, which is a thieves guild controlled by a beholder.
Well, they're selling the toy. I sent you that picture
the Xanathar one.
Yeah, and I was surprised that Xanathar didn't end up in the movie somehow.
Well, they're selling D&D toys and then Honor Among Thieves toys. They're 2 separate.
Right. But Xanathar is definitely a recognizable name. Mm-hmm. The other one, I would love to see them actually do a film adaptation of the original Baldur's Gate video game, because that's a plot that could work on film. The Tale of the Godson or Balson. So
what about Neverwinter Nights?
Neverwinter Nights plot is so. Do you really remember the plot from Neverwinter Nights?
No.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the plot from a lot of D&D stories. It's just that there's an evil wizard and you gotta go get things to beat him.
You get the thing to get the other thing to beat him.
Right? It's always evil wizards, dude. It's always evil wizards. At somewhere there's an evil wizard. But it's cool. It's fine. I like it.
Evil beholder.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, beholders basically just do all kinds of magic anyways. So yeah, I was really I was expecting a beholder, but I was okay with the fact that we got a lot of other iconic creatures that I felt bad for, because I realized Ricky hasn't actually encountered any of those creatures ever.
Don't feel bad. I'm excited.
He's encountered a displacer beast.
I'm excited to go back in on Monday.
You guys fought one in the basement of the cult hideout like
Yes.
a year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't
Yeah.
remember that. I'm
As
so
much as I love
I gave you
Brian's,
guys your first dragon fight.
yeah,
So
yeah. Of course, dragon fights.
Ricky got messed up. That was great.
I love Brian's tokens that he uses, but watching this movie gives me just context on what things look like a little bit
Yeah.
better,
You're gonna
how they
complain about the
move,
graphics.
what they sound like. No, I'm excited. Like I hope this movie does what it's probably what the goal is to get people into D&D, right? One feeds into another.
Yeah. Well, I think the D&D engine is powering up, right? The pandemic brought so many people into the hobby, and now you're getting the technology, like the virtual tabletop technology. I don't know if either of you watched the D&D Direct last week, where they talk about sort of what's upcoming. But they are rolling out a new version of their virtual tabletop, which basically looks like you're using minis from Hero Forge transported directly into 3D rendered environments that the DM and you can manipulate stuff in.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
So,
Because
so it will have good graphics.
Yeah, that is the thing that's kind of missing from the experience, is like having your little miniature and having your like.
We're gonna be in VR soon, and we'll all be at a table with our headsets.
And then we'll striking vipers. Yeah. That's what we're gonna do. By the way, side note related to that, I think the biggest problem I had with the old D&D movie is that I couldn't unsee Justin Whalen masturbating in Serial Mom. Like, especially in that scene when he grabs the red dragon rod and he just starts like making this face like and he's shaking, and I'm like, yep, that's the face he made. Like, I think, like, I was trying to explain it to Lindsay earlier, but I think the problem, because everybody says this is the movie that ended his career. Sure, whatever. I think it's the fact that like he did the most exaggerated masturbation scene I've ever seen recorded on film. And when you do a scene with that much enthusiasm, it leaves only one of two possibilities for the audience in their brain. One, have you ever masturbated, bro? Like, I don't like. Or two,
what is even that?
Or two, is that how you do it? Because if that's how you do it, that's scary.
Hey, no kink shame. Let him do his thing.
I'm just saying. So, like, when I saw him make that same face again in this movie, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna see it every time. You know what? Just don't give this guy more roles. It's just not. It's not good. It's not good. So I guess somebody else got the same idea, and yeah, I don't know what else Justin Whalen's been doing, but it's not a lot.
Maybe he can have a cameo in the next D&D movie.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for this one. I was like, maybe they'll bring him in. Like,
no, too soon.
So 23 years.
What did you think about the cameo of the cartoon characters?
Oh, I thought it was fantastic. Right? Like, it wasn't heavy-handed at all. Like, if you knew, you knew, and if not, it was just like, oh, look, there's other people that are gonna die.
I didn't know until you guys pointed it out.
So it cracked me up because, like, do you know the premise of the cartoon, Ricky?
Oh.
So the cartoon is actually
it's people playing, like, right?
No.
It's a group of children that were at a carnival and they went on a ride, and when the ride went through a tunnel, it actually, a portal opened up and they got transported into the world of D&D, and they were wearing the clothes that you saw in the movie, and they each were given a magical item. But these are legit, basically, players, right? Yeah. They're us. They're people that don't know the world and are
is
just trying
D&D a thing in that cartoon, or are they just
no? They're normal kids, and then they meet this little bald dude in a red robe named the Dungeon Master, who explains shit to them.
Yes,
it is people not understanding the audience to trust that they know the property, right? We had this elaborate framing device.
But it's a cool framing device that made me so sad for them when I saw them trapped in the arena, because I'm like, oh, you poor kids. Oh, you poor kids. I don't know how long you've been trapped in this world, but this is about to be really bad for you, because
their buddy, the Dungeon Master, will save them.
because the main characters do not seem to be taking a particular interest in saving your asses, and that red wizard is going to murder you in a moment.
I mean,
So
they were
yes,
at ground zero, so they're probably dead.
they were at
No, the
ground
dungeon master
zero.
teleported in and saved them like he always does.
I thought the implications of that were really cool because, like, the movie did a great job of building this world the entire time, and then just at the very end, they just insert these poor people in there, and they're like, "Yeah, if you know who these are, you're feeling extra bad for them right now, right?" Like, because it's like, oh man, those children do not know what they're getting into, and but it is cool. It's cool to know that maybe they have a place somewhere else in the universe later, who knows. But I will say we probably got to stop talking about this movie because it's been, or these two movies, it's been a long time we've been doing this.
You don't want to touch upon the backlash that certain parts of the fandom have been online.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah,
I was just saying,
hear it. What's the beef?
there's a very vocal but stupid part of the internet. I think you probably are familiar with them from their previous hits, like "Girls Shouldn't Be in Star Wars" and "Disney's woke nonsense has ruined
They're
Marvel."
extra mad this week.
Yeah, so they don't like this because it's basically woke D&D. Because it's got female characters and non-white characters and blah blah blah. And I do enjoy that the film seems to have deliberately trolled them in a real sort of Easter egg that only true nerds will get. So the sorcerer's grandfather who showed up, do you know who that's supposed to be?
Was it Gary Gygax?
No, it's so there's he mentions earlier in the film that he comes from the lineage of blah blah blah, and they're like, oh, you should be a great sorcerer. That's Elminster, who's supposed to be the greatest wizard in the world, in like the D&D world.
Oh, okay.
And he's a black guy now, and they have been not happy about that.
Gotcha.
I will say the 2000s movie, I was surprised there were brown people in that movie. I was not expecting to see people that look somewhat like me in that movie.
But then when they died, you're like, oh yeah, that tracks.
Yeah,
Right.
It is
sure.
2000, so
it is 2000.
I
mean,
will
I
say-
looked at the global box office. It's doing well in China and the UK, but third highest grossing box office right now is Mexico. So
there you go.
I like their D&D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, when you were talking about how they trolled, I thought you were going to say they trolled with Michelle Rodriguez's amazing armpit hair. Oh my God. I loved it so hard. How often do you get to see women in these awesome roles rocking their natural armpit hair? Like, that was so, she showed it off frequently in that movie. Like, she would put her arm up on tall chairs. She just made sure you always saw this armpit hair. And I was like, she's proud of that, and I'm proud of her for doing that. That was
cool. That's got him angry. And also I've seen a couple of people screaming about Bradley Cooper letting himself be cucked. So and they also hated Zinc the Paladin. That it's like, oh, of course, the most powerful character. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm not surprised. I loved all of those things. I loved them all. I loved
all of them were great.
They were all amazing. Yes. Okay, for reals now. We probably, by the way, also Doric the Druid is amazing. But my wife was quick to point out, if they do a sequel, probably don't bring her back, because druids are kind of annoying at a certain point. Like, they just get, like, you can only do so much with their story, right?
Like a paladin, right?
Yeah, a druid and a paladin, they kind of clash with the rest of a party, because the environmentalism, you can only handle so much of that, right? Yeah, you can't have that. You can't have that hanging out with a bard who just wants to steal and have fun and
you can have the what's his name, Radagast the Brown type druid, where it's just like a stoner hippie druid. So.
Fair enough, you can do that. But that's why I think it'd be cool to do a new party, have a new party in another movie, reboot, if you will. Like, I don't even know.
They could take it in a bunch of different directions. So.
When I was going to introduce this movie, I toyed with the idea of, like, do I say this movie is a reboot, of the old ones, or is it, or are we just comfortable with any story existing in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Right. It is specifically set up to favor anthology type, stories. So
yeah,
do
but for
whatever.
some reason, Damodar comes back in the sequel.
Damodar shows up in all 3 of the films, I believe.
He's in all 3?
Yeah, I think he's in Book of Vile Darkness as well.
Why is the mummy the guy that doesn't know when to say no to sequels? Isn't he in like 4 mummy movies?
I think he's in
2.
all of them.
No, just 2.
No, he wasn't in the Mummy Goes to China one, I don't think. I can't
Are
remember.
you sure he's not in that one?
I don't think so.
He's not in that one. No.
But he's in the Scorpion King, isn't he?
Oh yeah. Yeah, but only briefly.
Yeah, I guess that's the movie.
Yeah.
It's like 4 Scorpion Kings, you know that, right?
Oh, gross. Gross. All right, for real, we need to wrap this up. We got to go. I think that the consensus here is
it's fun. Go watch it.
If you had to choose one D&D movie, probably Honor Amongst Thieves.
Yep. If you're D&D curious, you should
well,
watch
if you had to choose one that's an actual representation of a normal D&D campaign,
Honor Amongst Thieves.
Not everybody's comfortable smoking the amount of weed you need to get the campaign that that Your Highness gives. But like for me, I think Your Highness is still slightly better. I do think that. Only because
James Franco fan
number one. James Franco.
Dennis.
Yeah.
It's definitely James Franco. No, it's I think it's what is it? Justin Theroux. I think for me, Justin Theroux is the greatest D&D villain ever.
If they cast him as Sastam, yeah.
I will say Hugh Grant is pretty awesome because he's like the party member that went bad. And I can relate to that as well. It's cool. It's a fun thing to do. But yeah, I will say for me, I absolutely love Honor Among Thieves. I still like Your Highness slightly better. It's okay. They can both live in my world. But if you want, if you're strictly talking about movies that are named Dungeons and Dragons, no question. Honestly, it's the best one.
Yeah,
for sure. When do you recommend people go watch the old one, though?
You clean your house.
Part of an end of life directive.
Cleaning your house, maybe on a Sunday morning.
Don't waste your time. As I was watching it, I got angrier and angrier because I remember the last time I watched it, I was like, never
because
again.
You did this to us.
While you're going to the movies to go watch this one, the new one.
It's like for your dog. If you told me, I have to remember that there's a couple of movies like this. Battlefield Earth being another one.
Yeah.
Good God, we saw that turd in the theater.
Yeah. All right. I mean, I swear we do have old movies that are good too. We'll make you watch another old good one.
Yeah, but if they're good, he's more likely to have seen them, right? Like the first Matrix.
He hasn't seen.
Dennis, I watched that with Dennis.
Oh yeah, I got him to watch that one. That's a great one. We have other ones we'll do, and we will be bringing the show back more regularly soon. There's only 2 more weeks of The Mandalorian, but we probably won't be back before then because I don't think there's another new movie coming out until Guardians of the Galaxy.
I think Guardians will be our probably our first show back.
Our return to form.
Yeah.
So we look forward to coming back for that. I will say thanks to Brian for torturing us with the extra.
That was fun. I had a lot more fun with the old movie. I had a lot more fun with the old movie, and I really like the new one. So
cool. We'll see. Ricky thanks you. Yeah, I think for me it's just a time management issue where it's like, okay, I gotta squeeze this movie into my day. Fine, I'll do it. But yeah, it was still fun to do it and look at both of them. Brian, do you have anything you want people to know where they can find you? Like,
not right now. I'm good.
Not Eclipse Space. Okay.
Oh yeah, sure. After talking about role play, I always forget. I created and co-wrote and did all kinds of stuff for a science fiction role playing game called Eclipse Phase. If you go to eclipsephase.com, you can find it there, and it is completely Creative Commons. Before years and years before Wizards was forced to do the same, so everything we got you can download, and then if you like it, maybe toss. I don't get much of the money anymore, but my co-owners would certainly appreciate it.
Why don't we ever play that game?
You talked about this last time because we're playing D&D right now. We can play that game next if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in 20 years, we'll talk about the movie.
Look,
nice.
I've got stories, so we have optioned it a few times, which is how I know how executives
to Hasbro?
regard these. No, the first time was to David Ayer's production company. I think it was David Ayer's.
This show's going off the rails, man.
I love it.
Yeah. But we'll see. Usually, anytime a role-playing property does well, or a role-playing video game does well,
gotta start that back up.
they come sniffing by and will want to purchase the rights again. So
I just realized we could stream playing Eclipse Phase without any issue, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, because you're one of the creators. We can.
Well, not only that, it's Creative Commons. We also have music that is Creative Commons associated with it.
Nice. All right, we might have to do this. Let's get our party wiped next week, guys.
Yeah, I gave you a chance this week, and you were like, "Nah,
yeah,
let's kill the dragon."
All right, for reals, we're gonna go. Thanks to Ricky and Brian for nerding out with me this week. We're gonna take a break for We Have Spoken again for a few more weeks. Thanks to our patrons for supporting our growth, and to our audience for tuning in, whether you be live or you checking in after the fact. Please remember to like and subscribe if you liked it, and check us out on Patreon for all the other wonderful things. No soapbox tonight, so have a great weekend, everybody, and see you next time on Den Excelsior, True Believers. Enough said.
Bye, guys.